The room was full. Chairs were occupied. Voices overlapped. Movement filled every corner. Nothing about the space suggested absence. And yet I wasn't there. Not in any way that mattered. I was sitting where I was supposed to sit, standing where it made sense to stand, responding when it felt appropriate. From the outside, everything looked correct. I blended into the arrangement without effort, matching the posture, the timing, the expected reactions. There was nothing visibly wrong with my presence. No one would have questioned it. No one would have noticed anything missing. And that was exactly the problem. I was there in position, but not in participation. Present in form, absent in weight. The room didn't resist me. It simply didn't require me. That was the strange part. No one would have pointed to the room and said something was missing. No empty chair. No silence waiting to be filled. The room was full. I just wasn't part of it. At first, I didn't notice the distance. I was listening, watching how the conversation moved, how it shifted naturally from one topic to the next. People spoke without effort, as if the words already knew where to go. Laughter appeared at the right moments. Responses came quickly, without hesitation. The rhythm was steady. Comfortable? I told myself I was present. That listening counted. That being quiet didn't mean being absent. And for a while, that felt true. But slowly, something changed. Not in the room. In me. I realized I was no longer waiting to speak. I was waiting for the moment to pass. The space around me didn't feel hostile. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was simply complete without me. I noticed how easily the conversation adjusted, how it flowed around my silence, without needing to acknowledge it. No one paused. No one searched for my reaction. The room didn't lean in my direction. It didn't need to. I nodded when others nodded, smiled when the tone suggested I should. I stayed aligned with the surface of the moment, careful not to disrupt its shape. But inside, nothing moved. There was no urgency, no pressure to contribute, only the quiet awareness that my presence had become optional. The room was full. I was not. I remember thinking that if I spoke now, it would sound misplaced, not incorrect, just late, like arriving at a thought, after it had already settled. So I stayed quiet. At first, it felt deliberate, like restraint, like maturity. I told myself that silence could be intentional, that choosing not to speak was sometimes the more thoughtful option. And maybe that was true. But time kept moving, and my silence stayed where it was. The moment didn't ask for my words. It didn't slow down to make room. It continued calmly, as if my voice had never been part of the plan. That was when I realized how easily absence can blend in. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly enough to go unnoticed. The room didn't reject me. It simply learned how to exist without me. I watched as the space reorganized itself, subtly, efficiently. Conversations found their paths. Energy settled where it needed to. There was no tension in the air, no sense that something had been withheld. Everything worked, and that made it harder to speak, because interrupting something that works feels unnecessary. So I remained where I was, present in form, absent in effect. At some point, the silence stopped feeling like a choice. It became a habit, a delay that kept extending itself. I wasn't holding back anymore. I was simply late. The room had already adjusted. It no longer expected anything from me, and that was the part I didn't anticipate. Not the quiet, but how quickly the world accepts it, how easily it continues. I don't know what would have happened. If I had spoken earlier, maybe nothing would have changed. Maybe everything would have. There's no version of that moment I can return to and test. No alternate outcome waiting to be explored. All I know is this: a room can be full, without truly including everyone inside it. And sometimes, you don't realize you've disappeared from the moment until it no longer notices you're gone. The room was full. I was not. And by the time I understood the difference, the moment had already moved on.